Intro. Hey there, and welcome to Poor Mana's Magic, a place where the wild cards, or the lack thereof, never rain on our parade. Today, we're going to take some time out of our weekend to play some Jump into Middle-earth. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Jump In events that MTG Arena has, they essentially are pre-con events for each new set release. So we will have the opportunity to pick two different types of essentially half pre-con decks. One will have one kind of mana base, color base, and a series of kind of keywords or themes, and then the other will have different colors, different themes. You put them together, you play a few rounds, you try to get a card reward. Now, Jump In for new players is a really good way to target some of those rares or mythics even that you may not have the gold to craft. You can actually look at the deck lists ahead of time and try to pick out the ones that have the cards that you might want. So I'm not going to go through all of the different precons, but at magic.wizards.com, you can actually find a breakdown of all of the deck lists and the percentages at which some of the special cards appear. These are going to be cards like Sauron the Necromancer, a rare 5-mana legendary avatar horror. There's even a 1% chance that you could pull the One Ring out of your pack. So let's go ahead and jump into the gameplay. I have a couple decks that I'm hoping I'll be able to pull, but we'll just have some fun either way. Okay, so it looks like we have a tokens build. We have our Insight build, which is going to be blue Sauron-based type things, and we have Sauron's. Now, Sauron's is the deck we just took a look at, and I would actually like to get a copy of Sauron the Necromancer if I can. So we'll go ahead and pick black for our first packet. And for our second packet, we have tokens again. We have Horde, which is going to be an amass type goblins maybe deck. And we have Breakfast, which is going to feature Rosy Cotton, some food token creation, and some other hobbits as well. Now, I like the fact that they are giving me a rare in this pack as a featured card. So we'll go ahead and pick black-red, knowing that this is actually a very strong color combination for this set. So now that we have chosen our two packs, let's go ahead and check out the deck and see what we actually pulled. So in the one slot, it looks like we have a little bit of removal. We have Golem's Bite, Haunt of the Dead Marshes, Shelob's Ambush, a very nice little trick. We have Rush the Room, which is another little trick for goblins and orcs. We have Easterling Vanguard. We have Golem Patient Plotter, March from Black Gate, Goblins, more Goblins, even more Goblins, a Lightning Strike, which is very nice, Dunlin Crebain, Urkai Berserker, Claim the Precious, some removal, which is nice. Fires of Mount Doom. Now this is the legendary rare enchantment for 3 mana, which says when Fires of Mount Doom enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and you destroy all equipment attached to that creature. And for 3 mana, 2 and 1 red, you can exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card this turn. When you play a card this way, Fires of Mount Doom deals 2 damage to each player. We also have Grishnok, Goblin Soldier. We have Raid Bombardment, which is actually pretty nice. So this is going to probably be our win con if we draw into it. We may want to mulligan until we get something like this, because it looks like we have a lot of small creatures. We have Swarming of Moria, which creates treasure token and amasses. We have Grond. We have Chimney Rabble, which creates more goblins. We have Hazardous Blast, which is actually pretty nice. If we draw into a Hazardous Blast with a fairly wide board, it deals 1 damage to each creature our opponents control, and opponents can't block with their creatures. We also have Goblin Gang Leader, which creates more goblins. We have Sauron the Necromancer, so we have our rare that we wanted, which is very nice. We have a Troll of Khazad-dûm, which is a little bit of mana fixing and late game. This seems pretty good. It does seem like we're really going to rely on drawing into our Raid Bombardment, and maybe some of our enabling cards like Hazardous Blast. We have a couple little removal spells. We do have a Claim the Precious, so it's going to be important for us to build up our board fast and luck into one of those spells. Okay, game 1 versus 23-23. So it looks like we do have some tap lands in Jump In, which is nice. We actually have some cards that aren't featured in this set, things like Goblin Gang Leader, Goblin Picker, and Goblin Morale Sergeant. So it looks like the only one actually that is from this set is Urkai Berserker. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that they would include some other cards in this. We'll go ahead and keep. We'll play down our tap lands. Ooh, and it looks like we're off against maybe a mono black build. Haunt of the Dead Marshes, not a bad turn 1. So we did pull a basic land, which will come in untapped. So we'll play Bloodfell Caves on turn 1, aim for a turn 2 Goblin Picker or Sergeant. Now, Goblin Morale Sergeant I haven't played before, but it has Haste and Enlist, and says whenever Goblin Morale Sergeant enlists a non-token creature, you can conjure a duplicate of that creature into the top 5 cards of your library. That's pretty cool. So we also have a little bit more removal now in Golem's Bite. We'll go ahead and play Goblin Morale Sergeant. Well, actually, Goblin Picker is a better blocker. Because we have Sergeant with Haste, we can pretty much put that down whenever we need. So we'll go ahead and set it up for next turn maybe with the Goblin Picker. And this way, we can play our tap land, we can play our Sergeant. With Haste and Enlist, we can enlist the Goblin Picker and start getting some more goblins. So Gorbag of Minas Morgul is in opponent's deck, and it looks like they're playing blue as well. That's actually a really nice land. They are attacking. It looks like, because they have Gorbag down, which whenever a goblin or orc deals combat damage to a player, Gorbag lets that player sacrifice it and draw a card or create a treasure token. They only have a Nightmare Elf. We will pick off the orc army, which can get bigger. Looks like they have a 1-mana spell. Ooh, Deceive the Messenger. Amass 1, target creature gets -3, -0. That's okay. We'll go ahead and play down our Bloodfell Caves. And I actually think we're going to Golem's Bite the Gorbag here. That could be a problem for us in the long run. Next turn, we can make one of our 3 mana plays, either an Urkai Berserker or the Swarming of Moria. And I like the Swarming of Moria because it'll give us a little bit more mana, and we can start creating a board at the same time. Ooh, 4. Ooh, okay. So we could actually double spell here instead if we wanted to. Mordor Trebuchet is a problem. The only orc they have on the field is the orc army, though. So I'm kind of liking the idea of swarming, creating an orc army as a blocker, and then holding up lightning. Well, maybe we should go ahead and lightning strike in case they have any instant speed amass. We'll go ahead and do it this turn. And I really like the music on this this new Hobbit rug play screen. You can't beat some old-timey violin. Opponent plays a Dunlin Crebain, which creates yet another orc army. It looks like maybe they're going to try to pull the same thing they did last time. No, they actually just passed the turn. Okay, so we have March from the Blackgate. We have a Goblin Morale Sergeant. We have Goblin Gang Leader, which will put 4 power and toughness on the board, which seems pretty good. I think we go for Goblin Gang Leader here. We'll take some time to... Well, actually, if we play March from the Black Gate, we can amass and create a 4/4 amass token, plus maybe play out Goblin Morale Sergeant as just a body. We're not going to block with it because I think it'll end up being a really nice combo with Goblin Gang Leader. But we will attack with our Orc Army. We'll grow it up to 4. We'll see if they want to block anything. They do not. They're just going to be swinging in with their Amass, their Bird Horror, and getting some value off their Trebuchet. Looks like very nice. Gothmog comes down, amasses more. Now all their tokens have Death Touch. This is going to be a tough matchup for us. And a very nice precon from opponent. A lot of synergies there. So we are up to 5 mana. We'll play the Gang Leader. It's our most efficient play. See how that goes. Now we could enlist, but I don't really see the point there. We'll just go ahead and attack with our Orc Army, which will grow. Next turn, we can attack with Goblin Morale Sergeant. And because we have so many creatures on the board, we also are presenting the threat of a counter swing if opponent gets a little too feisty out there. We'll just go ahead and block, use some of our creature tokens, preserve a little bit of our health. But Mordor Trebuchet is really becoming a problem. Patient Plotter, a lot of high toughness out there, or high power. I'm not seeing a whole lot that we'll be able to do this turn. Yep, just drawing into more lands. That's not our favorite thing. Go ahead, we'll play out our Berserker. We will enlist our Goblin Morale Sergeant with our Gang Leader. We now have 4-1, which will trade for something. And we are dead. GG's 23-23. Looks like opponent is going to keep playing instead of swinging, so we'll go ahead and just call it quits. Okay, on the play against Food Finisher. So we'll go ahead and play a Mountain. No turn 1 play for us, but we do have a Goblin Fire Leaper on turn 2. Scoured Barons from opponent. We do have our Fires of Mount Doom, but this is going to be used as a little bit of removal for us, so we'll wait until something comes out, maybe like an Amass token. Very nice. We'll go ahead and Fires of Mount Doom, take out the token, attack in for 1. Opponent reading the card. So with Fires of Mount Doom out, we really are going to want to go as fast as possible. Swarming of Moria seems like the best option here. It'll give us a slightly bigger threat. However, we also know that an Amass token in March from the Black Gate is going to grow really big really fast. So we'll go ahead and use our removal on that. We'll attack in to try to trade for the Crebain. Flying, probably not a good trade from Food Finisher, but we'll see how it plays out. Usually in these limited formats, evasion is really important, especially for board stalls. And so seeing them trade the Crebain, and they had a Mordor Trebuchet. Now, this is going to be a problematic card every time, so we're going to go ahead and take it out immediately. Ooh, looks like they might have a 1-mana protection spell, maybe? No? Okay, good. We also were tempted by the ring. Landreval Horizon Witness. This is a legendary bird noble, so whenever 2 or more creatures they control attack, target attacking creature without flying gets flying. This is just another big threat. Man, this black-white deck is threat after threat after threat. We're going to have to get lucky to beat this one, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll play Swarming of Moria to build up our mana a little bit more and have some board presence. Looks like we're going to get pecked through the air, and this is okay. We will go ahead and attack first, see if we can get some damage in. Opponent had no turn 5 play, which is always suspicious. We do have a Shelob's Ambush. It says target creature gets +1/+2 and Death Touch. Golem's Bite. Yeah, that'll probably do it. We'll go ahead and let them have that one. Then we will double spell with Goblin Picker and Golem Patient Plotter. Now we probably should have played the Goblin Picker first, in case they return Golem Patient Plotter to hand or into our deck. But it looks like they didn't do that. Soldier of the Grey Host, a flash flyer. 4 mana. Wow. Now it's too bad that Shelob's Ambush doesn't give a creature reach. That would have made sense to me. opponent's going to exile Golem's Bite. Ring is going to tempt them, and they will make their Soldier of the Grey Host the Ring Bearer. They'll attack for 5. So we are definitely on a clock here, but we don't know if we can't come back. Yet another land from us. So we'll go ahead and read our cards. We have a Goblin Gang Leader, we have a Shelob's Ambush, we also have a Fires of Mount Doom. Now, because Fires of Mount Doom is symmetrical, it deals 2 damage to each player, we might not want to be using that. We definitely want to be the aggro player, putting our opponent down in life before we start losing life. That's not quite how this has worked out thus far. So we will swing for 5, see if opponent has anything they want to do about that. Looks like they have a lot of interaction. Escape from Orthanc. So it looks like they are going to make the mistake of getting a little greedy and trying to block. That's not going to be great for them, unless they have yet another instant or sorcery spell. Ow! They used a lot of their tricks trying to get rid of this little 2/2. So You Cannot Pass is an instant that says destroy target creature that was blocked, or that did block a legendary creature this turn. That's a weird one to use, but we'll take it. We'll play out our Goblin Gang Leader. Both of us are empty-handed now. We have a little bit more power on board, but they have 2 very evasive flyers. We'll see what they drew into. It looks like maybe a pump spell. Yet another of these tricks. And this is kind of the obnoxious thing about Jump In. Because the power is so low and you really have maybe 1 or 2 cards that are going to bring it home for you, you're really relying on drawing into those cards before your opponent does. And this can create a lot of asymmetric gameplay. That's not the best. We don't want to play out yet another land. We will go ahead and hold on to the one in our hand and just pass the turn. Kind of surprised that opponent is hanging back here. Goblin Morale Sergeant. Now that is something we like to see. So this can come down in list for 4. Looks like opponent has yet another thing, but we can't really play around that. We're going to attack in with Goblin Morale Sergeant. We're going to enlist our Gang Leader so that we can conjure another copy into our top 5 cards of our deck. Goblin Morale Sergeant will go up to a 4/1, and we'll see if they want to block. They are blocking, which probably means they have yet another trick. Shelob's Ambush. They are pulling out all of the combat tricks that they could possibly draw into. So that's okay for now. So long as they are wasting those tricks on defense, I don't think we mind so much. This is about the time when we really need them to start stalling out, and they draw into their finisher, Gandalf White Rider, a legendary avatar wizard with vigilance that says whenever they cast a spell, creatures they control get +1/+0 until end of turn, and they scry 1. I'm going to go ahead in good game just to let them know that we are feeling bad about their draw. They're attacking in with their flyers, which makes sense. If they had been doing that, the game would have been over by now. Let's see what we draw into. It is our Goblin Gang Leader. We'll go ahead, play out our last land. Because of our treasure token, we can Fires of Mount Doom, see what's on top. We're really going to want this to be removal. It is not. We will play our Gang Leader. We will hold on for 1 more turn. And actually, we can attack in with our Patient Plotter. They're probably not going to trade off for their Gandalf. And so this puts them to 14. If we draw into our Raid Bombardment, and they get a little hasty with their attack, we might have a chance. But it looks like they draw into Sauron Necromancer. Woof. So this is pretty much the exact deck that I would have wanted to put together if I had the opportunity. They drew both of their bombs, they drew both of their flyers. GG's food finisher. Okay, so we have now learned a few things. We've learned that the red jump-in pack is not very good. It's a little too low to the ground. It doesn't have a lot of the big oomph, and if you don't draw into your raid bombardment, you're going to lose. So we are going to jump in yet again and see if we can't get something a little bit better. So we have the Shire, Adorned and Wild. Now I'm not entirely sure what's in these decks. We haven't seen any green yet. We did see a little bit of blue. It looks like Goldberry River Daughter, which is a rare, is going to be the featured card here. And that says move a counter of each kind not on Goldberry from another target permanent you control onto Goldberry. So we're going to care about maybe +1/+1 counters, maybe some other sorts of counters. This is probably going to be pretty slow because it has to tap in order to use that. Maybe not the best. Now the Shire might have some better synergies. Wild might be a little bit faster, a little bit more go face. And we're really just trying to get some rares out of these packs though. So let's go ahead and take the Shire. And for our second, we know that we don't want Horde. So Blighted, which actually features Shelob, a legendary spider demon, which is a rare, and Treefolk, which has Quick Beam Upstart. So we're going to go with Blighted, because again, this is really an opportunity for us to start building up our rares. Now that we've chosen those packets, let's take a look and see what we pulled. So we have, yet again, some of the black removals and combat tricks. We have Shelob's Ambush. We actually pulled a Delighted Halfling. This is a really good rare for the Shire deck. Very happy to see that we got that. We have Mirkwood Spider. We have some other spiders, some shortcuts to mushrooms, some mushroom dogs, Meriadoc Brandybuck, some protection in Bombadil's Song. We do have some removal in Choking Miasma. That could be really good. We have Brandywine Farmer, Galadriel Bow, Peregrine Took, which is also pretty nice. Stew the Conies, which is going to create some food token and is some removal. We have some other kind of big-bodied creatures, some other spiders, Rise of the Witch King, which could be nice. And then top end with Shelob. So maybe this isn't so bad. Let's go ahead and give this deck a try. So we're on the play against Centurion, and we have our Shelob in hand, but no black mana. No early plays either. I'm going to have to say, let's take our free mulligan. This is much better. We have some early plays. We can ramp up pretty well and curve out. And once we get to some of our 4-drops, we actually might be in a pretty good position. So we'll go ahead and keep. We'll play out our Jungle Hollow in turn 1. Meriadoc Brandybuck will be our turn 2 play, which says whenever one or more halflings you control attack, create a food token. It's just a nice little 2-mana 2/2 body. Opponent is on Gruul for now, red-green. So we'll go ahead and play our Brandybuck and see if we can't start pulling ahead a little bit. Now, what would be great is a turn 3 creature. The more our opponent kind of falls behind, the more we want to take advantage of that and create a board presence. We'll see what they have in hand for their turn 2. We do have a Battle-Scarred Goblin. Now this says whenever Battle-Scarred Goblin becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to each creature blocking it. We did draw into a Ruthless Predation, which isn't a bad turn 2. I'm going to go ahead and use this now. We'll take out their Battle-Scarred Goblin. We'll start trying to, again, pull ahead. We'll create a token, food token off Meriadoc, and we'll see what they have for turn 3 play. Mirkwood Spider. Now this is going to be a problem. Death Touch is so strong in this format. especially if you don't have a lot of removal. We did draw into some removal though. So we're going to go ahead and take this turn off to do some scrying with Galadriel Guide. And then next turn, we'll see if they want to play out anything smaller, in which case we can Choking Miasma. And also kick it, so that we can put a +1/+1 on one of our counters. Or +1/+1 on one of our creatures, and then take out their board. So we don't need Urborg Repossession yet. We have plenty of creatures in hand. We have a Skyfisher Spider, which says that when Skyfisher Spider enters the battlefield, you can sacrifice another creature, and when you do, destroy a target non-land permanent. This is really excellent removal at turn 4. We don't have any creatures we really want to sacrifice, but we will go ahead and attack with a Meriadoc Brandybuck. I have a feeling they might have some sort of combat trick in hand. They're not going to need it, given that Mirkwood Spider has Death Touch, but sooner we can get that card off the field, the better. It looks like they're going to keep it around. They don't want to trade it unless it's for one of our bigger creatures, and that is a pretty smart play. Ooh, Gimli Mournful Avenger. Now this is the rare in the Gruul deck. Gimli Mournful Avenger is a legendary dwarf warrior that says, Gimli Mournful Avenger has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time, Gimli fights a target creature you don't control. Now, this is why we kept around Choking Miasma. So we can kick this for 1 green, pay the cost of 1 mana and 2 black, and all creatures are going to get -2/-2. Now, if they don't have a way to bump up Gimli, this is going to clear their board and give us a chance to attack. It'll probably be end of game for them. So let's go ahead and see if we can take advantage of that opportunity. We'll put a counter on Meriadoc Brandybuck. Excellent. It looks like we did clear the board. Opponent is now way behind on creatures. We are building up a nice little food store, and we have some pretty big threats coming down the pipeline. Gimli Counter of Hills. So it looks like we have 2 creatures that can trade off. So we will go ahead and attack in, see if they want to exchange. If they don't, we can play Bag End Porter, we could play a Skyfisher Spider. I think we will probably play a Skyfisher Spider just to keep them on the back foot. We don't want them building up their board at all. Okay, that's fine. So they are going to go ahead and trade. That's fine. We will be dealt damage and we'll play our Bag End Porter. Just a very solid 4/4, 4-mana creature. Now, if there are any more big bombs that come from opponent, maybe something like a Strider, we have our Skyfisher Spider at the ready. Now, it looks like they do have a 1-mana spell being held up. Oh, they're going to Mountain Cycle and Oliphaunt, which is a very interesting play. They could have played Oliphaunt on the next turn, but instead it looks like they want to build up to something even bigger. My guess is they have the 6-mana Ent that pumps up their creatures. We're going to go ahead and play a Forest. We will play a Skyfisher Spider. And we will sacrifice our Galadriel Guide to destroy Strider, Ranger of the North. We'll attack in for 4. And we now have lethal on board. We'll see what opponent wants to play. Yep, 6-mana Quick Beam Upstart Ent. Now, Quick Beam says whenever Quick Beam or another Tree Folk enters the battlefield, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 and trample. Now, this is going to be an issue, but we do have the creatures to build up enough of a board to hopefully attack past it. So we'll go ahead and keep playing out our bodies. Skyfisher Spider does give us some life when it dies, but we don't want to throw it up against a tree quite yet. We'll go ahead and pass the turn. Looks like opponent might have some removal. opponent does pass the turn. Now we have multiple creatures we could go with here. It looks like they are holding up priority, which makes us nervous. If we attack in, they're probably going to block one of our creatures and maybe fight another creature. Now if they do that, they will be down to no creatures, we'll be down to one creature, and we might be able to push through some more damage next turn. So we'll go ahead and attack all and see what happens here. Quick Beam is going to block the Sentinel Spider. Maybe a Lightning Strike on the Skyfisher. Maybe a Fight spell on something else. Oh yeah, so it looks like Friendly Rivalry, which is an instant that says target creature you control and up to another target legendary creature you control. Deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't. So they are going to have a very effective 2-for-1 here. We'll take out the Sentinel Spider via blocking. They'll take out our Bag End Porter with the removal. And that is unfortunate, but it does happen. We'll get them down to 4 mana. We'll play out our 2 creatures. They are holding up, it looks like, some more removal, maybe another Friendly Rivalry. Now, because we have built up so many food tokens, our Mushroom Watchdog can get much, much bigger. So we'll go ahead and hold that up for now. We'll see if they want to remove something. Now we do have a Death Toucher in Ruin's Recluse, which we can pay 4 mana to put a 1/1 counter on. That could be a very good play for us. Opponent's still holding up 1 card. So we'll go ahead and start pumping up our Mushroom Watchdog. We'll see if there comes a time when they're going to take it out. So that puts lethal on the board again. And if they have yet another removal spell, that's going to be unfortunate, but we do have to take our opportunities when we have them. So we'll see if they have another removal. Yep, they block our Mushroom Watchdogs. Quick Beam is putting in a lot of work here. Improvised Club. Ooh. So they had to sacrifice their creature. Wow. That was a pretty bold move from them. Okay, so they no longer have their Quick Beam. We have 2 creatures on board. They're going to be down to 2 mana. I like our position here. We'll see what Centurion can come up with on their draw. And they phone it in. Good game, Centurion. And so with that, we get our first win. It only took us 2 decks and 3 different games, but not too shabby. Not too shabby. Okay, so now that we have our first win, let's go ahead and do one more deck to see if we can't pull maybe a Gandalf out of the white deck. So it looks like we have the Shire again, which I do really like the Delighted Halfling. It's a really nice 1-drop rare. We have the Amass, which features Mouth of Sauron. We have Insight, but I really want to focus on that 1 mana rare. So we'll choose the Shire. Now, the Breakfast deck does have a rare in Battle of Bywater, which is a 1 mana and 2 white, essentially board wipe, where you destroy all creatures with power 3 or higher, or maybe above 3 power. That could be pretty good. I don't have a copy of that yet. Elves is going to have the 3 mana Galadriel as the rare, which is kind of a mainstay in the upgraded Scry deck, so that could be pretty good as well. And then on the greedy, we have Lobelia Sackville Baggins, a legendary halfling citizen with Flash and Menace, and it says that when Lobelia enters the battlefield, exile target creature card from an opponent's graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, then create X treasure tokens. Now, that could be pretty hard to set up sometimes. I think we're going to go ahead and go for the Galadriel. This is going to work a little bit better with our Shire token deck, and I haven't been playing as much of the 3-mana board wipe kind of deck that would be good for that. So we'll go ahead and choose Elves. We'll get our Galadriel. We'll get our Delighted Halfling. We'll just make sure that we maybe didn't get a one ring at the same time. Nope. So we have our second copy of Delighted Halfling, 1 mana rare. We have our first copy of Galadriel of Lothlorien, a 3-mana, 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue, legendary elf noble that says whenever the ring tempts you, if you chose a creature other than Galadriel, scry 3. And whenever you scry, you can reveal the top card of your library. If it's land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. This is going to be really good. So I'm pretty happy with the synergy between these two decks. It seems like we'll have some food tokens, we'll have a lot of early scry plays. We have a lot of 3-drops, which is going to keep the gas going for the first 1, 2, and 3 turns. We have some pretty strong 3 and 4 mana spells in Celeborn and Galadriel. Chance Med Elves and Elrond. I really like how this deck fits together. We'll go ahead and take this into a game and see how it does. Okay, on the draw against Move Silently. So we don't have any of our 1 or 2 drops. We do have some of our later payoff cards, but we're going to go ahead and mulligan. And this is absolutely not better, except we have Galadriel, and I will never turn down Galadriel. Looks like we stumbled into a turn 2 Nimrodel Watcher, which is excellent. One of our best 2-drops, especially for the Scry deck. So Nimrodel Watcher says that whenever you scry, Nimrodel Watcher gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. This is a very, very good way of getting through the board stalls that, again, tend to happen a lot in this format. So opponent is on Goldberry River Daughter deck. I'm really interested to see how many tokens they can pump up and if Goldberry can be an effective mechanic. So opponent plays Eyes of Gitaxias, an incubate card. Very interesting. That is a long time to pay off there, but maybe they can move a counter of each kind not on Goldberry from another permanent onto Goldberry. So yeah, this turn, they can block with Goldberry. They can tap, remove a counter from their incubated token onto Goldberry and start building that up. That's pretty cool. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play out our Galadriel. We won't get a scry this turn, but next turn we have Arwen's Gift, which can give us a scry. We also have Willow Wind on 5, which can give us a scry. We'll go ahead and not attack this turn, but next turn should set up pretty well. We'll also have the ability to ramp a little bit with Galadriel. And because we do have quite a few legendaries in this deck, Bag End Porter is going to be a pretty nice creature to have, especially if we can find some way to give it evasion. I'm not sure we have any of that in our deck, but a large body nonetheless. Opponent plays Ent Drawn Basin, which is a pay X and tap to put a 1/1 counter on target creature with power X. It can only be activated as a sorcery. This is also a really good way to get counters onto creatures, to get counters onto Goldberry. A lot of kind of late game payoff here, but we'll see if we can. If we can get through them with our Nimrodel. Ooh! So we do draw into an Arwen Undomiel, which is a legendary elf noble for 1 green and 1 blue that says whenever you scry, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. This is something that I think could be really good on a turn 5 if we have 5 mana. We can play an Arwen, play an Arwen's Gift, scry 2, etc. But I think for now, we're just going to try to draw into some more gas and make sure we hit our land drop. We have a Delighted Halfling and a Generous Ent on top. I think we will take our Delighted Halfling just as another potential play. Or will we? Delighted Halfling might be a little bit past its prime in this deck, so let's go ahead, bottom both of those, and see what we have on top. 2 lands, so not bad at all. So we will go ahead and Give our Nimrodel Watcher +1 and unblockable. And we will see what's on top of our deck with Galadriel. It is a Mushroom Watchdog. Go ahead and attack with our unblockable creature. We will play our Thornwood Falls. Oh, I guess we already played a land for this turn. So we won't do that. We will next turn play our island, probably into Willow Wind, which is a flying 3/4 elemental. And when it enters the battlefield, we get to scry. So Lothlorien Lookout comes down from opponent, as well as a Chance Met Elves. So they are definitely building board. They have some pretty good 1/1 synergies here. But they continue to not use Goldberry River Daughter to take counters off of their incubated token. I find that to be a little interesting. Not sure that's the absolute best for them. So we do have some plays here, and I want to get Arwen down so that we can start putting counters on our Nimrodel Watcher. We'll go ahead, we'll play her. We will also play our Mushroom Watchdogs, and then we will hold open a Pippin's Bravery, just as a little bit of insurance. So Pippin's Bravery is an instant for 1 green that says you may sacrifice a food. If you do, target creature gets +4/+4. Otherwise, that creature gets +2/+2. So next turn, we will have Willow Wind come down, and that will enable some of our Scry synergies. Opponent has their own Willow Wind, so this is going to scry for them. It's going to put a counter on Chance Met Elves. They're going to be feeling pretty good about that until we show them our own. So if they do choose to attack here, thinking that they might be double blocked, we can actually blow them out with Pippin's Bravery. Opponent realizing that Chance Met only triggers once. Once per turn, that is. Go ahead and they use their Ent Draught Basin to put a counter on Goldberry. Goldberry now at 2/4. I imagine they might start using Goldberry next turn to pump up their Willow Wind. The nice thing about Goldberry is that both of these activated abilities are instant speed. They don't have any limitations to sorcery only. Yep. So, opponent not really realizing what this means. So, Goldberry says move a counter of each kind not on Goldberry from another target permanent you control onto Goldberry. I think they misunderstood kind of what they meant. So they tapped Goldberry, they tried to put another counter on Chance Met Elves. That is not quite how that mechanic works. Okay, so we have drawn into another island, which is actually pretty good. So we'll go ahead and play our Willow Wind. When we scry, we'll put our counters on Nimrodel Watcher. We do not need more land. Well, actually, we might keep 1 land on top, because Galadriel will... Yep. Galadriel's going to trigger. We'll put a counter on Nimrodel Watcher, make it unblockable. We will reveal the top card, put that land onto the battlefield. And then we will attack with our Nimrodel Watcher. We're going to keep holding up Pippin's Bravery just in case we can use it to get rid of an important creature like Willow Wind, or Goldberry, or Chance Met Elves. We'll see what opponent does, though. As long as we can keep scrying, we should be okay here. Ooh, Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. So that's going to keep the scry train going for opponent. Elrond says whenever Elrond or another creature enters the battlefield, scry 1. And if it is the second time that ability is resolved in 1 turn, the ring tempts that player. Chance Met Elves is now a 5/4, a very formidable attacker. So opponent is going to use Endrot Basin to put a 1/1 counter on their Willow Wind. They're probably going to think that they can attack in for that, but this is why we held up Pippin's Bravery. Pippin's Bravery is going to give our Willow Wind +2/+2, which will be enough to survive a Willow Wind attack. So it looks like they're actually just going to attack with their Chance-Met Elves. So in this case, we are going to hold on to our own combat trick. 5 damage isn't so bad. Opponent is down to 13, and we have a pretty good attack set up. Legolas Counter of Kills. So whenever we scry, if Legolas Counter of Kills is tapped, we can untap it, but we can only do that once each turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, we put a 1/1 counter on Legolas. So this seems like a pretty good time to play this card. Play Legolas out. We are going to attack with our Willow Wind. We'll see if they want to block. Opponent might read this as a bluff. They might not. They choose to block it. We will use a Pippin's Bravery, pump up our Willow Wind to be a 5/6. Goldberry requires another blue mana to move a counter. That's not going to work. We made the same mistake twice. Legolas will now get a 1/1 counter. We can play out our Thornwood Falls, gain a little bit of life back, and now we have a flyer, and our opponent doesn't. We have a potentially unblockable Nimrodel Watcher, and opponent doesn't. And we've started building up our board to have some pretty good blockers. So really, we're on defense. We're hoping that our Willow Wind can get us across the finish line. Opponent plays Celeborn the Wise. They are going to be scrying a lot now. They've drawn into their best scry enablers. So we have the flyer, but they have the scry. See how that goes for them. Ooh, they attack all. So opponent might just be hoping that they can finish. Yep, activate only as a sorcery. They can finish us off. This isn't the worst for us. We have plenty of good blocks. So we'll go ahead and block Rivendell. Or an Elrond, actually. Let's see how this math checks out. So they do 6, 9, 10, 13, 15 damage to us, and we can swing back for 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 damage, of which they can block 3. They have 1 card in hand. I think we give this to them. So they'll put us down to 2. They have another card. We might be in trouble, but we also have a lot of blockers that we can use for next turn. Looks like they just have an Endrot Basin as their move, which they are going to go ahead and use on their Goldberry, so we will swing for lethal and all will be well. 5th lane knots off the top, tap down a Celeborn the Wise, doesn't matter about the scrying. It gets us there anyways. Put 1 just wherever. Reveal a Lord of Rivendell next, we'll attack in for lethal, and we'll say, good game, move silently. So with that, we will call it a day for the Jump into Middle-earth event. It looks like there are definitely some better combinations of these packs that you can choose from. White-black was definitely a very strong direction to go. The Shire Elves, I was actually pretty impressed with, so long as you draw into your scrying. Black-red, maybe a little bit slow. Black definitely has some of the best removal. I would go ahead and Google search for the Jump into Middle-earth deck lists. Take a look through them yourselves. But again, for players who don't have a lot of wildcards, Jump into Middle-earth is really a good way to look ahead at these deck lists, figure out which rares you really, really want, and spend 1,000 gold, which you can get from your dailies, on crafting some of those rares that are really going to take your kind of common and uncommon decks to the next level. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay as much as I enjoyed playing it. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, as it really does help a small channel like mine grow, and I will see you next time.